Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and joining me is LPGA professional Cydney Miller, and we are your hosts. We're broadcasting live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the blogtalkradio.com network, bringing you some of the best golfers, teaching professionals, and entrepreneurs helping to elevate women's golf. We're so glad you decided to join us this morning, so grab your coffee and let's get started. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf Show. We got a great show for you coming up here. Of course, I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside is LPGA professional and Legends Tour player Cydney Miller. And Cydney, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
How are you doing?
How are
you doing this morning? I'm doing fantastic for a Tuesday morning. Very, very excited. We've got a young lady who's on the road traveling to Atlanta, getting ready to play for the IOA Invitational this week. And she's actually the winner of the 2019 Murphy USA Eldorado Shootout. And, of course, I'm talking about Cydney Clanton. And she's going to be joining us here in just this quick second. And then a little bit later on in the show, we're going to be joined by Elisa, Gaudet, who is the president of the Executive Golf International and founder of Women's Golf Day. She'll be joining us on the second half of the show. But in the meantime, let me just, before we bring Cydney on, I want to just mention something I think pretty exciting in golf news. Yesterday, of course, in Washington, D.C., Tiger Woods received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from the president, of course. He's only the fourth player, Cydney, who has ever, first golfer who has ever received that very prestigious honor. In great company with Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, and, of course, the late Charlie Sifford. So Tiger Woods, of course, makes number 4 to have received that. And he was at Rose Garden, of course, with President Trump and others receiving that medal. Very, very honorable, of course. And you could tell I don't know if you got a chance to see any of the playback of it, Cydney, but he was certainly very appreciative and very humble in receiving that
I did not get
honor.
to see it.
I watched a little bit of it this morning. Yeah, I watched a bit of it yesterday. I missed part of it, and then I was able to catch the rest of it this morning. But he was certainly a little choked up and obviously very appreciative. And something I didn't know, I knew that he was friends with Charlie Sifford, but he mentioned this in his acceptance speech that he actually considered Charlie Sifford like a grandfather to him. He was very, very close with him and really learned a lot from some of the struggles that he went through. But great honor, and congratulations, Tiger Woods. Honor well-deserved, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Okay, as I mentioned, we've got a great guest to start us off. Yeah, very, very cool. Cydney Clanton is joining us, and so let's welcome her, Cydney.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Road Warrior.
Well,
that's right.
Don't you love it, though?
You know, I don't mind the travel. Everybody asks if it's the hardest part, and for me, it's really not. I mean, you do have to be patient when you travel because you never know what's going to happen. But it's just one of those things. When anybody that travels for work, whether that you're a professional athlete or you're a salesman or whatever it is, you know that there's ups and downs with travel. But you know, it really is. It's just a part of the job, and it's not something that bothers me. I actually don't mind driving at all. So I actually enjoy the time that you get to sit and reflect and listen to music and just enjoy your time by yourself.
I totally agree. Alan and I both played on tour, and we drove a lot. And needless to say, when we got married, we had kids. We drove with the kids, and we had to go to Boston for a memorial service this past weekend. And we got there, and everybody goes, "Oh, when did you fly in?" And I said, "Well, we drove." "Well, how far was it?" "Oh, 8 hours." And they go, "What?" I go, "No offense, but once you're a gypsy, you're always a gypsy." And it's kind of like I couldn't wait to get in the car just to chill, and hang. And of course, he drove, so I could do stuff on the computer. It's a blessing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it's easy. I mean, I definitely like the car a little bit better than the plane, just because you can add a couple more things, and it makes life a little easier. But it's amazing. I mean, the fact that we can fly across country and be somewhere in a couple hours, and it's just a really cool thing to do.
Agree. Ted?
Very good. Well, Cydney, let me I just want to read out a couple of things. Didn't get a chance to do that yet, and then we'll get into our discussion. As I mentioned, of course, our very special guest is Cydney Clanton. She's the winner of the 2019 Murphy USA Eldorado Shootout. She's 29 and a native of Concord, North Carolina, and she's 4-time All-SEC first-team performer for Auburn, War Eagle. Named the 2008 Women's Golf Golf Coaches Association and SEC Freshman of the Year. She's also a 2-time medalist for the Tigers at the 2009 Hooters Collegiate Match Play Championship and NCAA Fall Preview. She, since her rookie year on the LPGA Tour, she's been on the LPGA. Of course, she qualified in the final stage for Category 11 status in 2011 and made of course, the priorities list and played on the 2012 LPGA Tour season. Since her rookie year in the LPGA in 2012 and entering 2019, she's had a total of 114 starts with 4 top 10 results and career best showing of tied for 7th in the 2014 Yokohama Tire LPGA Classic. Again, total of 33 starts on the Symetra Tour entering 2019 with 29 cuts made and 11 top 10s, and of course a win here just a couple of weeks ago. So obviously playing a lot of golf, and I want to talk about very quickly about the Murphy USA. You actually were in a 3-hole playoff against Julieta Granada. Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, it was interesting. You know, I had a slow start in that final round and kind of battled back. And Julieta, she played really well. I mean, she shot 3 under that final day to force the playoff. And it was pretty much a sudden death. We were going to play the 18th hole until there was a winner. And we both played the hole very different. We both had very different games. And it was actually quite interesting. I thought on the first playoff hole, I thought that I was going to win on the first hole, but Juli made like a 12-footer to extend it to another hole. So it was one of those things where I kind of had to sit back and be like, okay, you know, you needed to not get ahead of yourself and take each opportunity as it comes. But it was just, I mean, it was a really cool experience. I have won once before back in 2013, and that was a 7-hole playoff. So I was glad to get it done in less than 7 holes this time. Wow.
Yeah, they've had a lot of, I think, almost every event this year. This is going into, I think, event number 7 for the season this week coming up. But I think just about every tournament this year on the Symetra has ended in a playoff. So obviously it's been very exciting for the tour, and also a little bit of a nail biter for some of the players, of course, having to play those extra holes. But obviously you got it done, and again, congratulations from both of us. Just very quickly, I want to, because I mentioned obviously that you went to Auburn University. What did you study at Auburn?
I actually studied business finance. You know, I tell people all the time I was not very good at writing papers, and I knew that no one wanted to read a finance paper. So I stuck with numbers and was in the business school at Auburn.
Very cool. What do you foresee long term? Obviously, a lengthy career on the LPGA, but business-wise, what particular interest do you have? Obviously, finance is one, but what do you see yourself doing some years down the road when all's said and done?
You know, I'm not really sure. I would love to grow the game. There's a couple of aspects in the game that I think that can definitely be improved upon. I think there needs to be some changes in college golf and with the development of players, and I think there's just some things that could be changed. And so I would love to help with that and figure out how we can give young players better opportunities to develop their games earlier. Because as we all know, women's careers tend to be shorter because of family and settling down. It's a lot harder to travel. with children once you decide to
Right.
have children. And so girls are starting very young. I mean, the average age on tour right now is 23, 24. And that's young. I mean, you're talking about, a lot of the guys, the PGA players, they're playing their best golf between the ages of 29 and 32. And that's when a lot of females are deciding to retire, to look elsewhere, to start a family. And so women are having to develop their games a lot earlier, but I think we need more opportunities for the women to develop their games at younger ages so that they have more opportunities to play better golf at earlier ages when they decide to turn professional. So
Sounds
there's
great.
there's definitely some passion in that kind of side of things, but I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. I try to stay focused on what I'm doing right now, and that's the biggest thing for this year. Is everybody keeps kind of pushing my year. They keep getting to the future, and I'm like, whoa. I said, this is a big year. I said, I turned 30 this year. Y'all are passing over my 30th birthday. I mean, we're skipping way ahead. I want to stay right here, right now. Today's Tuesday. What am I doing today? What do I need to accomplish today? Let's not get ahead of ourselves, and let's stay focused in what's going on right now.
I couldn't agree more. I think you need to stay in the now. Certainly be conscious of the future, but I think you have to stay in the moment. I agree with that 100%. Cindy?
So tell me what your ideas are for helping juniors become better players at a younger age, because I agree with you, and I'd just like to know what your thoughts are.
I think we can do a little bit more development in college. It was interesting. I played at Auburn, and we had a couple of international players from Spain, and I honestly had no idea how other countries worked and how they developed. But a lot of other countries have national teams, and these national teams have coaches and have availability to grow their players from a very young age. I mean, they help their players financially, they help their players with equipment, they help their players on and off the golf course, and we just don't have that here in the U.S. But what we do have is we have college. I do think that to be able to develop or to have a program to develop, the NCAA would have to come off some of their rules, because the NCAA restricts what can and can't be done in college as far as who can coach you, how many coaches you can have. But I think there's something that we can do in college to help these players develop more, just because I've mentored a couple of players, and a lot of players that I see, they're very green players. They don't know a whole lot about playing, depending on how well off their family is, depends on, what kind of instruction they could get before college. Just with experience of listening to all the other players, there wasn't much development when we talk about college, because a lot of the college coaches are either coaches that played in school or played professionally, but they don't have any extra higher development as far as there is no Class A. They're not getting their teaching. They're not focused on any specialized part of the game. Do they help you with your game? 100%. I mean, the one thing that I learned most in college was course management and how to look at courses differently. And that also came with playing practice rounds with 4 other players that played the game different than I did. I was always trying to make the golf course as short as possible. How far can I cut off the angle of the hole to get as far down there as possible, rather than playing the point to the dog leg. I was like, oh, you can hit 3-wood over that bunker and then have like a straight shot in. I'm always trying to go over the trees. So there was definitely things that I learned in college, but any other sport, when you're being recruited, a football player or a baseball player, a pitcher, isn't going to go to a school that doesn't have a decent pitching coach where they can't develop their pitching. Or a football player, a running back, isn't going to tend to go to a school that doesn't run plays for running backs. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Perfect sense.
So there happens to be.
And so it's just one of those. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's the LPGA, the USGA, the PGA, even the U.S. Olympic Committee is coming up with a plan for long-term development, because I absolutely agree with everything you're saying. Our son went to school at Augusta State, and 90% of the team was from a different country, and again, they were all on their national teams. and they started. They were invited to be on the national team when they were like 13. So not only did they get nutrition, they got mental help, they got everything they needed. So they were so much better when they went to school. Whereas here, you're absolutely right. If you don't have enough money to send somebody to the Northeast Amateur and the Porter Cup and the Monroe, you're screwed. And then they don't get the experience. But the USGA and the NCAA is going to have to change the rules on that. And that's why, you know, so many teams have so many foreign players, because they're just better than the U.S. players.
Yeah, you know, it really has become competitive, and, you know, I don't mind the competitiveness at all. I just think that we have 4 years to really develop and help these players be whatever kind of player that they want to be. And it's okay if these players don't want to go be professional, but you have 4 years to develop, and you have a player that comes in that, you know, is an 80 shooter, they can turn into a really good 3 or 4, because if you played in college, you know that everybody has a 1 and 2 player. Everybody's team has a 1 and 2 player. College is all about the 3, 4, 5, and 6 players. And, you know, you're recruiting all different aspects of players and development in their game, but you have to be able to develop their game to make them better so they have opportunities. Someone that didn't think they would ever have an opportunity to turn professional could have 3 years of development and be like, hey, I really might be able to do this. I need to put a little extra elbow grease into it, but I now have the information that I need to be able to grow, and they can choose to do what they want with it. They can choose to, you know, take it as far as they want with it. We just have to give them and provide them with the knowledge that they need and the platform that they need to be able to grow.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely. And, you know, it's funny because we've got a student who was a walk-on for Suzanne Strudwick. Suzanne played on the LPGA Tour for a long time. And after the girl got to school last fall, I saw Suzanne at a Legends Tour event, and she said, you know what, I got a redshirt her. And she's just not going to play this year. And the girl was so upset, and I said, all right, here's the deal. You can either get mad and start planning, you know, the way out, or you can face the facts and work your butt off and prove to her that not only are you a good student, you're a good kid, you're not going to get in trouble, and you can improve, and she's getting a scholarship next year. So it's like,
that's
just
awesome.
Face the facts and develop. And if you do that, there's no telling how good you could be.
Well, you know, it's so funny now anybody that's younger than me and that's still in college, I'm always like, get as many degrees as you can. Stay in your college bubble as long as you can, because it's safe. I said, the real world, it hits you pretty hard. I said, so I'm always telling kids, stay in school as long as you can and enjoy it. Because I enjoyed my 4 years, but sometimes I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I could go back sometimes.
Right? I totally agree. We've got another young girl that just graduated from Winthrop, and she's thinking about trying to play. And she's just going to stay an amateur for a year and just, you know, work on her game and try to get better. It's like, you know what, just go do that, because when you decide you're going to work, again, our son went to Q school and missed by 2 and then got in a boating accident. Now he's a financial advisor at UBS. And he's a really good player and stuff. But the point is, once you go from, I'm just traveling the tour and trying to play, and I'm not saying that's not hard, because that's really hard, because, you know, my husband and I both did it. But, like you said, the real world slaps you in the face pretty hard. So take a chill pill and have some fun and enjoy it.
That's right.
Sorry, Ted, you can talk now.
No, that's all right. I'm actually sitting back and I'm enjoying the conversation that both you ladies having. I agree 100% with both of what you said, and Cydney particularly, because I agree. I think that, you know, I think players obviously have to do their own thing to be competitive, but I think the tools that they're provided with up front have to be somewhat on a fair playing field. And you're exactly right, Cydney. You know, there are a lot of countries out there now, and it's very surprising that the U.S. hasn't really stepped up already and taken advantage of that. There's a lot of great countries out there, Spain, as you mentioned, and some others, that actually have national programs, and, you know, they're you know, getting a very high-quality player at a very early age, And for some reason, I don't know why the U.S. for so many years, especially being a leader in golf, has sort of sat on the fence on that. So, I wonder, Cydney, listening to you talk, I wonder if maybe, once you feel that your playing career, you've been satisfied with what you've done, if there's maybe an opportunity to get involved in golf's governing body, much like what Susie Whaley is doing now as president of PGA of America. That might be something in your future as well, because you're obviously very passionate about the game, not just playing the game, but continuing the growth of the game. Is that something that you might consider for down the road? And I know that's thinking ahead of today, but is that something you might consider getting involved in the governing body?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it, but there has been things that I've tried to help with my mental game and playing. What are you playing for, kind of thing. How can you use the ups and downs in golf now to help you for down the future. So there's just been, I've had questions asked to me, and that's the only reason why I could have answered the question that you asked originally, what's in the future. That's the only reason why I really could answer that is because some of the questions that were asked to me to kind of help with now and motivation of now, as in let's get, let's be on every platform and experience every platform so that you can then use it to help in your future with whatever it is. So I'm not sure. I know that there's a couple of things that I'm passionate about with growing the game. I was nominated for the LPGA board. I was supposed to be on the board for the next 2 years, but ended up stepping down just because of the status. I'm not going to be out there full time this year, and didn't think that it was the right thing to do to try to stay on a board that I'm supposed to be speaking for the players and not really being out there hearing what the players are saying. So I was kind of bummed that I needed to do that. I'm sure that the LPGA board is going to be one thing that I hope to do in the future and be a part of, because even just helping with the LPGA and the growth, a couple years ago, the LPGA introduced the LPGA founder video. And to be honest with you, I was very ignorant, had no idea how the LPGA had started and all that the women had did to get us to where we are. And, great Marilyn Smith, who just passed away, I read her novel about all that they sacrificed and did. And that's been eye-opening for me, that video and and Marilyn Smith's book and all that they did. And I think we need to have a little bit more passion in the LPGA so that we can grow it and make it bigger, because what those ladies did is going to be kind of still what we have to do. I mean, there's a part of the women's game that the men don't understand, but we have to have passion in it. We have to have passion in the organization. We have to grow and make sure the organization is healthy, and that's one thing that I've been a little bit passionate about, is making sure that LPGA stays healthy. And so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's to hold or what's in my future. So.
Well said. And actually, just playing on that, you actually read my mind, because that was something I wanted to ask you, and you actually beautifully led into it. We've talked to a number of young ladies off of the Symetra Tour, some a little bit younger than you, that, as you said, a little more green. They haven't been out there quite as long. And when you mentioned the name of somebody like Marilyn Smith, or Shirley Spork, or some of the other great ladies that founded the LPGA, they have no clue as to who they are. So would you like to see more of that being taught, or more of the up-and-comers, if you will, being exposed to that information? Because there is a lot of intrinsic value in understanding the past of the game and how it got started, to understand how and where you want to take it in the future of the game. Is that something that you think, and I think you pretty much answered this, but that you would really like to see happen more, that's being taught more, and making it part of the LPGA's formula, if you will, in growing the game, is understanding where the game started?
Unfortunately, I'm not sure if I believe that it's the LPGA's job. I do think that they have given us a platform. I mean, we have the videos, and we have a lot of things to our access, or in our hands that we can get. But it's one of those things where, as players and as people and as young women, we should want to learn how it got started. We should want to learn how we can help, because as much as it is about competitive, and trust me, I'm the most competitive person you'll probably ever meet. I've kind of sat back and looked at how far the LPGA's come. I mean, even the Symetra, I played right out of college. I graduated in May 2011 and played in a couple of events before leading up to Q School. It's come so far, but part of the reason why it comes is we have to do things. Mike Wan, awesome man, and he's really grown the LPGA. I mean, what he's done is phenomenal, but what he's done is he's made important. I mean, we write thank you notes all the time. I mean, he talks about how often he gets emails or phone calls from sponsors of just how appreciative they are of getting 144 thank you notes. So there's things that come on that we have to do as far as the Pro-Am parties and the Pro-Am experiences and the thank you cards. There's things that we have to do, and if players understood the importance of them and they did them more out of, rather than it being more out of joy and out of gratitude for, okay, we're doing this because eventually we're going to be better, I think it would go a long ways, rather than it being like, we have to do this. And I think the knowledge of where it came from and what all the ladies did, I mean, the fact that a lot of the ladies were putting the money that they earned back into the tour, like they were taking their money and putting it back into the tour, and the sacrifices that they made and all that they did as far as tiling golf courses and getting Pro-Ams established and just, I mean, Marilyn Spence, what she did, I mean, she made a brand for herself. She was known for her attire, and she talked to everybody, and they advertised all that they did to make people interested. We still kind of have to do that now. And, they had a passion. This is what they wanted to do. And we can't take that for granted. I mean, they had to sacrifice so much. They were competitive and had to still compete, but they had to do all these other things on top of it. And it's still kind of one of those things that we have to do now. And we might always have to do. I mean, it's unfortunate. The PGA has such a well-established name, and the PGA kind of speaks for itself. We're still really trying to. I mean, we're the most watched women's professional sport, other than tennis. I'm not sure how much tennis is up there, but I mean, we're the most televised professional sport on TV. But we're still so far behind when you compare it to the men. So it's just one of those things that I think if more women and more girls had knowledge of all the things that has been put into the tour, I think they would have more gratitude and more appreciation and more willingness to do things that they might think is a burden now, but really isn't. It's all that we're doing now is only going to help grow and make the tour better.
Right. You're exactly right. And, what's interesting is, these young women that are getting into golf, they're the fastest growing segment of new golfers. That sort of that 13 to early 30s, I guess, is the biggest segment. I think it's over a third of all new golfers coming into the sport. So obviously with the help of people like Michael Wan and many others and the founders in women's golf have helped to spur that on, and I hope it continues to keep growing. Cydney, any final thoughts or closing comments before we let Cydney go?
I just absolutely love your passion, and you can tell that you're committed, dedicated, and serious about not only becoming the best player you can be, but also to help grow the game of golf and women's golf. So thank you for your contribution. We appreciate you, and if you ever have any questions or concerns about what you do later, let me know, because I would love to have a discussion.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the time.
You're
we
welcome.
Appreciate it, Cydney.
Good luck.
Congratulations.
Make a bunch of birdies.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations again, and be safe on the road.
Thank you, Ted.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. That was our special guest this morning, Cydney Clanton, winner of the 2019 Murphy USA Eldorado Shootout. Definitely a lot of passion, Cindy. You're exactly right. I think that was a great way to put it. I think she's going to do very well, not only just as a player, but I think whatever she does beyond that, I think she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Before we bring out Elisa, I know that you have something that you want to share with the listeners, so set us up and then we'll play the clip.
Well, I've been asked to do an awful lot of corporate training and business development, and using the game of golf as a business tool is something that very smart people do. And I'm a certified behavior, motivation, and emotional intelligence professional, and I'm doing some events in Buffalo and all over the country, to be honest with you. So I just wanted to play this commercial for those who might be interested in learning how to use the game of golf as a business tool.
Well, let's hear a few words from our favorite gal, Cydney Miller.
Everyone knows business deals are made on the golf course. Knowing how to act is just as important as how you hit it. As an LPGA professional and corporate trainer, I offer workshops, seminars, and executive retreats to teach you how to do both. From the back nine to the boardroom, improve your team from the inside out, or Golf 101 for executives might be the perfect fit for your team. Maybe it's time to make some deals on the course. For more information, go to cindymillerinc.com.
Very good. And I can't think of anyone better than to reach out to than our very own Cydney Miller. All right, Cindy, we've got another special guest coming up, Elisa Gaudet, who is the president of Executive Golf International and the founder of Women's Golf Day. She has over 16 years of experience servicing clients and with marketing, branding, sales, as well as strategic planning and execution, specialized in the golf industry, and her experience includes working and living in the U.S., Europe, Latin America, and other numerous emerging golf markets. Some of the organizations, just a few that she's worked with, include the PGA Tour and, of course, the government of the Dominican Republic. She's also the author of Two Good Rounds book series, including Two Good Rounds, 19-hole stories from the world's greatest golfers. Also in that series is Two Good Rounds, Superstars and Golf Stories from the world's greatest athletes. And rounding it out with the third book is Two Good Rounds, Titans, Leaders in Industry and Golf. Cindy, let's welcome our very special guest, Elisa Gaudet.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
We're doing great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
thank you. Have something.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, you've got something special coming up. Why don't you tell us about it?
We do. Lack of sleep time. We are less than 30 days away from Women's Golf Day. So June 4th, 2019 will be our fourth year doing this. So it's an exciting time. And, we start to see a lot of movement. We work all year for this, but, because it's a one-year event, since January we start signing up courses and getting them involved. And this becomes a little bit more fun because this is the part where we reach out to the consumers, towards the end of April and all through May, and let them know what's going on and what this is about, and to get involved for those who don't know. And it's a really fun project. I guess for your listeners, I don't know how many people know, but Women's Golf Day started as a one-day, 4-hour experience for women and girls. Locations around the world sign up and just host the event. And our suggested format is that, and we, strongly ask them to do this 4 hours, keep it simple. The first 2 hours offer women the opportunity to take lessons. So maybe that's 45 minutes on the driving range, then 45 minutes chipping and putting, switching out groups or something. And women that already played, let them go play 9 holes. It doesn't necessarily have to be a competition, could be a scramble, what have you, and then have a hard stop and have 2 hours of socializing. And, we tested this format in the beginning, and what we found was, the opportunity for people who have never played to mingle with people that play. And any of us that have ever tried anything new, that's rarely the case, because if you go to sign up and take tennis lessons, you're with people who never played tennis before. So it's helped a lot, and we, the formula seems to have worked, and we try to keep it as a fun, feel-good, celebratory day.
And how do people sign up?
People go to the website, and
Which is what?
womensgolfday.com, WOMENSGOLFDAY.com, and there's a button right in the homepage, and it says sign up to play, register to play, and it also says register a location. So locations that are looking to still host an event, they can still do it, go through the system and register their location. And then people that are looking for places, it says, and there's a, kind of like a geolocator, they can punch in their city and state, or look by, there's a lot of different ways. There's a search engine in there, so they can find what's closest to them. They can also go, we have Top Golf that we've partnered with, Club Corp, Troon, PGA Tour Superstore. So even if you just want to go to a PGA Tour Superstore, you're intimidated, you want to just try, see what it's like. I mean, I've been to those twice in the past 4 years, the PGA Tour Superstores. I mean, it's great. It's a great opportunity to just kind of get your feet wet or see what it's like or meet new people. There's a lot of ways, or a Top Golf, or or go to a golf course that's close by.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's
good.
Hopefully there's no excuse that we're giving, when we partnered with enough people by now, and industry as well, that will help with the messaging. Golf Channel has been phenomenal. The Golf Now courses are involved this year. So, and of course, people like yourselves, we greatly appreciate spreading the word. And, this is meant just to get new and existing golfers out there. And I think, we've looked around. I think we're the only sport, male or female, that has a designated day. So this thing, kind of came about as a passion project 4 years ago, and it's just, kind of went crazy. This year, I think we're up to 712 locations. In total,
Wow.
We have had over 900 locations in 52 countries. And on the day of June 4th, it starts in Australia. That's the first country that hosts an event. And if you look at our world map, the thing that's really cool is for 24 hours straight, there's a Women's Golf Day event happening somewhere around the world.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this.
That's in Hawaii.
Awesome. If you were a club or an LPGA Pro or a PGA Pro or anybody that's interested in hosting an event, how would they do that?
Exact same thing. On the homepage, we have two buttons. It's right in the middle. We keep it says join the global community. One that says register to play and register a location. You go in and you register your location. And you do. We highly recommend, because when, and I don't want to get too into, household thing, but people, I encourage them. We try to keep, just like the event concepts, we try to keep the website simple. But what we also offer, because this was meant to help people, we're a one-day event. This isn't some, get-rich-quick scheme or any type of thing that is going to, suck people in. The idea was, how do we help get more women involved? How do we help the pros? How do we help people? And it could be a local pro or, or a program, like Get Golf Ready or what have you. So when you go in and create that location, it stays up there for the whole year. And you have two things. I mean, you have, it looks like a Facebook page almost. You have a back banner, you can put your logo, and you have two links. So links of how people can go find your event, and a link that might just be your web page. So we're trying to do our best to highlight people. So it could be anybody has an opportunity to go and put that information in. So, we hope that, and when people are going and looking to find classes or do things, that there's a way that they can be found.
Perfect.
Yeah, helping, whether it's like I said, and we're working with, we're trying to work with everybody. This is I think the one thing, and I think you guys know as well, as you've been in the industry so long, this industry is a bit fragmented because there's multiple governing bodies and things. So sometimes I think we don't think about it because we're in it. But for people from the outside, it's a little confusing, and you don't know where to turn or who to turn or what's the difference. And, I think one of the things I'm most proud of is we got everybody to play in the sandbox for this one day. and this is not just here, as you said, we have international golf federations around the world and Muslim countries and things like that, but we're affecting change and moving the needle, and just allowing women to get out and try it. And then we highly encourage them to go continue on. And we kind of like leave that up to you guys. That's you, Cydney. You take it from there. So that's
absolutely.
We created this, as a platform. So then you're there that day and you say, hey, by the way, I've got an 8-week course. I've got a business, how to do golf, for executives and how you leverage it for your business. And that's exactly what we want. Use that day to say, hey, you like it and depending on their appetite, God knows everybody has enough programs and different things that you can provide these women.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Take the ball and run.
Yeah, we're bringing the horse to water. We want you guys to make it drink. So, there's only so much that I think that this is the whole thing started because we saw it. There's a lot of fragmentation, and what I thought was, what if we could get everybody for one day just to kind of focus? Because what happens is there's a lot of distraction. You just don't know. People don't know where to turn, and at least for one day we can focus. And I do say I thank you guys from the media and Golf Channel and everything because they've done a great job of making this feel like, it's almost like, okay, it's a given. Everybody knows second Tuesday in June is Women's Golf Day, like a 4th of July or Thanksgiving or what have you. And we take it for granted in this country, because really when you go look out, you see that, they're doing this, whether it's for expats or not, but, in places like Saudi Arabia, in the United Arab Emirates, in Morocco is this year a number of locations that are on board, in Nigeria. These aren't, this isn't as popular as it is here. And I think it's given those people a voice. And I think Nancy Berkeley probably said it best. She said, this reminds me of the old, that old saying that is act local, think global, act local. So that's hopefully what this is. The moment that you're there, you're involved in a community, but that community participating in that event on that day is part of a global event that's happening. And, hopefully it fires people up and makes them excited about that. And I just think with everything that's going on in the world these days, it's kind of nice to have something light, happy, and fun that's just getting people together for a singular purpose.
I couldn't agree more.
Yep.
Me as well. I think that's fantastic. Elisa, I want to ask you a question because you kind of touched on it a little bit, with a lot of new people to the game, how intimidating that can be. Talk about what golf has done for you personally when you first were introduced to the game and how that can sort of translate to others that maybe are sitting on the fence right now, how that can help them learning by what your experience has been being exposed to the game, what it's done for you overall, and how it can help other both young and older women that maybe haven't taken up that charge yet to get out and actually learn to play.
Yeah, I started playing around the age of 12 or so, and it was a sport that, my parents had gotten my sister and I involved in. And, I'm one of those people that was like kind of jack of all trades, master of none. So I didn't play competitively or do it that way, but it was a really nice sport. I'm so grateful that, anything you can learn at a young age, and whether you pick it up or put it down for a little while is always a good thing. So that's exactly what happened with me. And I didn't really play throughout college or what have you, but it was always something that I could go to and pick up and play. And then I did post-university and was leisurely and what have you. And it's always been a source for me to meet new people, engage in the community. I ended up getting involved in the business. So, it becomes, I think my experience is going to be different than the average person because we're blessed to be invited to incredible places and do things with golf when you're in the industry, working with people all the time. But for anybody that just gets up and tries it, and I remember I used to have this thing called donuts and divots. In the mornings, people would always keep asking me, hey, where can I go? Where can I go? Where can I go? I lived in South Beach, and I was with Jim McLean was the pro at the time, And I said, hey, Jim, what about you want to do this like a early morning, Wednesday morning class? And I brought out the donuts and people came. And I just think, they met new people, they got exposed to it. So no matter what the level, if you go on to keep playing and get more involved, like anything, you're going to dig deeper. Your probably friendships will be deeper. You're spending more time on a golf course with people, but however you use it, even if it's just to do a little morning clinic, it's you're trying something new, you're getting out, you're meeting people, you're learning a skill set that you can use whenever you like. And that's, at the end of the day, probably what it's about. People who go on and play and become more involved, whether they join a country club or a league, then, it's all about, at the end of the day, it's friendships, relationships, and those are fostered. And it just happens to be a sport where it's a little easier. The sport's not easy, but it's easier because, you're not winded running back and forth on a tennis court or, doing something where you're unable to communicate with the other person. So I think that's, as much as people, I tell women all the time, that they think there's not like men go out on the golf course and they've got a contract rolled up in their golf bag and they're like ready to pounce on the person and say, hey, sign the contract, and that's how they get the business done. That's not it. It's no. It's the time that they spend, and you find out about the person's kids, and it's not, you build a relationship. So you can do it over coffee, or you can do it over golf. So, and I try to demystify that. Like, there isn't this like, oh, business is being done, as if somebody's out there with like, contracts, writing them every other hole.
Right.
So it's, it's the same skill set that you need, that we, use in business and everyday life. And it's fostering those relationships, nurturing those relationships.
Right, exactly. And you're exactly right. It's meant to really build and develop relationships, and doing it in a fun way. And you're right. I mean, you're not holding a business meeting out in the golf course. It's there to learn about the other person and for them to learn about you. And obviously it can open a lot of doors. And sometimes business may not get done in that particular forum, but it's a great way to meet and develop other relationships as well. So you're exactly right. And I think it's a win-win for anybody that gets involved. It's enough of a challenge. Golf could be challenging even for the best players in the world. So for those of us that aren't quite in that category, it's even equally more challenging. But it's just the fun and the camaraderie and the laughs that we have sometimes out in the golf course with one another, where you really don't get that in any other sport, because you're too winded, you're running back and forth and whatnot. And golf is a much more relaxing game, or can be if you approach it the right way. I want to just very quickly jump ship just for a second and talk a little bit about, you're also the president of the Executive Golf International. Tell us a little bit about that for those that maybe you're not familiar with it.
Yeah, that's a strategy, marketing, branding company that I started in 2003 after, I worked for the Tour de las Americas, which is the Latin Golf Tour, and from there I worked for the PGA Tour. And probably like the highlight, I guess I would say, one of them, or the major one, is that, I got to, myself and another guy, run the World Cup in 2002 that was in Mexico, working for the PGA Tour. And the thing that I noticed was that companies weren't sure how the best way for them to get involved in golf. Like they knew the demographic was good, and they wanted to, but people get sucked in and sponsors or what have you, and they don't want to run golf tournaments or be in the golf industry. They want to sell more Mercedes or drive tourism or what have you. So I think it was helping them navigate that. Is why I started Executive Golf International, and I'm a huge fan of strategy, and that's what we help. We help companies with strategizing as to what's the best way for them to get the results that they want using golf as a vehicle. And so as you can see, the Women's Golf Day was kind of was born out of frustration of 18 years in the industry listening to, hey, we want to get more women involved. And I got a couple people, and we have wonderful people on our team that are industry veterans. We started talking about it, and that's, tested this concept of the 4 hour, 1 day, 4 hours thing. went well at a golf course in Boston, actually, and with the women's group, and it took off from there. But that is an example of what it is. So strategizing and looking at the pain points or what it is that a company would want to achieve, and figuring out how you can do that through golf.
Well said. And excuse me, and I agree. There's a lot of businesses out there, obviously some of the major corporations that have been around and involved in golf for many years. They know the drill, if you will. But there's a lot of companies out there that have maybe considered it and maybe don't know exactly what the first steps are. And that's essentially what you're trying to do with Executive Golf International, is to help sort of guide them and navigate through those waters, if you will, and marrying the two together, golf and these businesses together, and allowing them to obviously benefit from the exposure, but also help organizers of tournaments and things like that benefit from some of the financial injection, if you will, that these companies can provide, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, if you're working for the client, any entity they go to is going to pitch them, and they all have benefits. So if they were to, look at a sponsorship with the PGA Tour or the LPGA or a local thing or what have you, they're going to be confused and not know what's best for them. And I think the important thing is to step back and remember that what is it that you are there? What is your product that you're trying to do? So whether, like I said, whether it's sell, more cars or whatever it may be, products, goods, or services, what is the best? Which one of these entities is best for you, and then approach it that way, like how it would be best for them to get involved in, whether it's, some media exposure, or, getting involved with bigger entities. And each one of those, and like, does the company need branding? Does the company need, direct sales? And that's going to determine. I always use the example, like, hypothetically, you have Mercedes. Is it better to stick your logo on Tiger's bag to sponsor a tournament and have your clients in a tent, do a hospitality play, or do a dealer incentive program where you're doing your own events and they're all accumulating to, an event in Stuttgart? And there's just an example with the same amount of money, 3 different ways to that company. But what does that company, need? And that's, I think, what is important for them to kind of evaluate. Maybe we all get excited and we get emotional with any sport. People want to, but like I said, once again, this is different because most sports are TV rights and merchandising, and it's different than a NBA or NFL or MLB type of thing. There's engagement, there's opportunities to engage. So that's, it's interesting. The people that are looking at it from that perspective, it helps, hopefully, we can help them to figure out what suits their needs best and how to pitch their product and service in the best light possible.
And that's so interesting and true, because there are so many ways to promote your product. So do you have numbers that you help, your clients figure out the best way to do that, depending on their goals?
Yeah, absolutely. So, or it's like a budget. We have this much and we'd like to do this. Or, they know that they need to rebrand, or I've had this tagline, I guess, for the company for years, but it's strategy, synergy, activation. And if you look, almost every company has got a weak point in one of those 3 areas. And I think those are the things. So you have to have a strategy, and then there's got to be synergy with the strategy that you've created, that it works with the other parts, whether it's a sales team or what have you, and you got to activate. And like I said, we've done this before, like the government, the Dominican, you mentioned that, how you promote the country as a golf destination. You got to look at sensitivity points, all kinds of things, help real estate developers. So it gets interesting when you really, dial down. At the end of the day, they do want to sell real estate. They do want to drive more tourism. So you can't get too caught up in, if you host a PGA Tour event or what have you, still got to remember, what is it that you're trying to do? Drive tourism, help real estate developers, and that's just one example. But yeah, it is, there's lots of opportunities, I think, for, and it gets, even crazier now with all social media and everything else. There's lots of ways, I think, for people to engage, whether it's, individually or corporately in golf and use it as a way to further their personal or professional goals, whether it's like you're saying, Cydney, doing classes that help women understand how they can use it for their advantage, women or men, but I know you do it to help them figure that out, or the company as a whole, how it can go use golf to drive their initiatives. And sometimes, too, I think we have to remember some of these things, I think things are moving so fast, it's just interesting because we're in this sport that's slow and long, compared to everything else.
You're absolutely right.
And now we're bucking heads, and I think this is why, we'll see, thank God, we see numbers up with juniors, but we're really bucking heads with the trends that are happening, which are fast, quick, low attention span. And so how does that marriage happen? To me, that's very interesting. How are we marrying this, and how are we going to react? We've been for the years.
I think we're all competing against each other. I mean, a lot of these, it's just, the LPGA Girls Golf, the PGA Junior League, there's so many different components, and I think it's interesting because on our last guest, Cydney Clanton, was talking about how you develop junior players and to become better players. And there is now a long-term player development program that they're trying to initiate, which really needs to happen, and everybody needs to come together to do that. So it's kind of like the LPGA, the PGA of America, and World Golf Association are all coming together with this Invite Her. And like you said, we're going to have one day where we're all going to get together and we're all going to come together for a common goal. Let's invite people to play. Great idea. Mm-hmm. Rather than compete against each other.
Right. So I'm on that task force for that. So if you look, the Invite Her is absolutely replicated from Women's Golf Day.
Absolutely. And it should be.
This is the concept we took the concept, but that is lifted from it. But at the end of the day, everybody's still going to have their programs, because a first tee or junior golf I think the more times we can come together,
the better.
We should. Yeah, the better. But I think, awareness to the programs, and it's just not, I don't think it's going to change. They're not going to be like, oh, yeah, no, we're not going to do our program anymore. So
no, that's not going to happen.
There is, and I think, I think it depends. There's a lot of things. I think the awareness is the most important thing. That people become aware, and if it's through, Women's Golf Day or another program that's kind of joining people together, because what's going to happen is whatever works best for the consumer, right? So if somebody has a first tee program near them and they don't have a junior girls golf, they're going to do that.
What door do they walk through first? Absolutely.
Right. You want to
get them in the door.
You want to get them. Exactly. Exactly. And like you'll see, like how many times a year can they do that? Or, everybody's still, they have to, everybody in these various organizations they've got time and everything resources invested in their programs. And they're all good programs. They're really good. It's just correct. From the consumer standpoint, it's like, hey, so we're the ones who started with this idea of let's just get together. And, we figured for one day that's an opportunity where it doesn't diminish what they're doing or cut into or try to step on their toes.
Absolutely.
And that's why we really just stuck it to the one day, and then, seeing how, and then, there's a couple of organizations that we've helped, through what we were doing, and them looking at the model and how ours, worked and was successful, because at the end of the day, the consumer spoke. It wasn't, we didn't push this. We didn't do any advertising. That's one of the things that's interesting. And that's why the thing kept going, because this wasn't meant to be a business. This was a side thing born out of frustration.
Good for you.
And like, hey, what can you do to make a difference to really make this so, This wasn't like, hey, we came up with a business plan and did it. We tested it.
Yeah,
and,
no.
We had from year 1 to year 2, we had 68% growth. We went from 400 and some odd locations to 711, and from 28 countries to 46. And we do notice. I mean, while we still are the biggest market with numbers, the appetite for this overseas, we notice, is a lot larger. I just don't think that they have all the opportunities and I think there's a willingness to really want to come together. So
wow.
I think the more times,
congratulations.
anytime.
Great
the more
job.
times that we can come together as an industry, the same, I mean, we try to do it. It's just there's a lot of stuff going on at the same time. We just had National Golf Day. That's another opportunity where they try to get the industry together. Some of that's about lobbying for things that are important in our industry, but again, highlighting, and then Canada's got their day and the UK has their day. So there's lots of stuff out there. And I think the main important thing is that, with the internet and everything these days, people are seeing it. So no matter how many of these programs or what we do is they're seeing it. They're seeing that there's
and
opportunity.
it's all good.
And hopefully
Yep.
Yeah, and they find one that works for them or for their children. And I think that was the main part of what we stressed is, some of the head pros are still, a lot of them are male or what have you, and that's great. But I think the important thing was to realize that people kept talking about junior golfers, and you can't wait until the junior golfer has a driver's license to drive himself to a golf course. Still, more times than not, that's going to be the mother, So that's where it became important. And I always stress, we don't have to convert every woman to be an 18-hole fanatic league player. Let people do what they want. If a woman's happy just playing a couple times a year or wine and nine and wine, the main thing is, my main goal is let's eradicate golf widow. There's no other sport that has a negative connotation, So let's eradicate that. That's a good goal to have.
It sure is.
We couldn't agree
Just
more.
have warm fuzzies. Like,
All right,
I
well,
like it. I don't. Yeah. Sorry.
No, not a problem. Unfortunately, we got to wrap up. We're out of time, but Elisa, we want to thank you very much for coming on this morning on the Women's of Golf show. And we just want to remind everybody, if you're interested in organizing a Women's Golf Day event, or if you're interested in playing in one of the events worldwide, go to womensgolfday.com, and you can register for either one right there on the website, and there's lots of great information there. Elisa, we want to thank you again for joining Cydney and I this morning on the Women of Golf Day, or the Women of Golf show, promoting Women's Golf Day, and we wish you much continued success on June 4th.
Yeah, June 4th. I hope you guys can get to a location and share your experience. And if you're unable to, still, share your, female golf, connections that you have. We all have them. So whether it's a mom, an aunt, a sister, a daughter, a friend. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you for what you're doing, truly.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All
Have
right.
a great day.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great day.
All right, that was our very special guest, President of Executive Golf International and the founder of Women's Golf Day, Elisa Gaudet. And that event, again, is June 4th, this coming June 4th, 2019. And you can go to womensgolfday.com to learn more information. And if you're interested in connecting with Cydney Miller, if you're interested in having her speak at one of your corporate events, by all means, you can contact her through CydneyMillerInc.com. All of her contact information is there. And on behalf of Cydney Miller and I'm Ted Odorico. We want to thank you for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf show, and we will see you next week back here with another great guest. All right. Thank you, Cydney. Have a good week.
Thanks, Ted. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening this morning to the Women of Golf show. Tune in live each week by visiting blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. If you can't join us live, check out our on-demand section for previously aired broadcasts. To get updates for future shows and upcoming guests, you can follow us on Facebook at Women of Golf. You can also follow me on Twitter at Ted and Buck CEO and Cindy at Cydney Miller Golf. Please remember to join us next week on the Women of Golf show. See you next time. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.